Alright, in this tutorial we're back in Geometry Script and we're going to go over the very basics of how to set up a sort of procedural generated planet that you'd be able to modify the terrain of. We're not going to do as much as I'd like to because it takes too much time, and also I've ran into some issues personally that I could not get to work, so I'm going to point those out later and hopefully someone in the comments will be able to help me with that. But in the meantime, start a new project. You're going to do probably third person, make it easier in Unreal Engine. And without further ado, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to want to do is to go into your project and go up into Edit, go down to Plugin, and you're going to type in Geometry, not Gmo, Geometry. And you want to enable the Geometry Script plugin. That's interesting. What's Procedural Content Generation Framework Geometry Script Interop? Might as well just activate that too, because you'll probably use that later. We'll restart now. Make sure you check that box for Geometry Script. So once you've reloaded, I'm in my little tutorial sandbox for the Geometry Script project, but if you're in a fresh one, you're going to want to create a new folder. I called it Planet. You're going to go in there, you're going to right click, you're going to hit Blueprint Class, you're going to go down to All Classes. You want to type in BP, or no, not BP, Dynamic Mesh Actor. And it's that top one, click that. We'll call it BP Planet, Procedural Planet, Generated Planet. Let's just call it Planet for now. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, keep it safe. Alright, double click that. Okay, so now that's done loading. If you go up in a parent class, you see Dynamic Mesh Actor. And if you ever want to like change what your blueprint class is and make sure you don't have like a lot of stuff in there already, you can go to File, Reparent Blueprint. But be careful, because if you have like a lot of stuff in your blueprint already, like in your project, it will break things. But if you just had a fresh one, generally speaking, it's okay. So in case you want to switch from, say, just a regular actor to a dynamic mesh actor because you want to add some of these features, you can do that. Because I started just with a normal actor and just added the dynamic mesh component, but anyways, we don't need to talk about that. We're wasting time. Okay, so here we are. And we're actually going to use the construction script for this, and that's where we're going to start building our mesh out to get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do is grab our dynamic mesh component, drag it down. Next step is we're going to drag this out, and what we want to do is get dynamic, we want to hurry, get dynamic mesh, and then we're going to call reset on it. But first, I think what we want to do is set this as a variable. We're going to call this dynamic mesh. We'll call reset. You can see that just clears the internal mesh to an empty mesh. It's kind of a safety thing. So the way I did this, and I'm doing this, is I am creating a cube and transforming that cube into a sphere, because later on there's like things I want to do with optimization and tiling, and it's like it really makes it easier to have a cube which you can subdivide it into surface squares when you combine it together. I'm going to make some visuals really quick to explain that. But we're going to do it simple, but I'll do some visuals for you guys. Alright, so now here, so the way I'm doing it is the idea is to create this is poorly drawn, I'm already sorry. This shape that looks, imagine this is like a cube. Imagine this would make a cube, right? Those are all not to scale. So you fold it up together, it becomes a cube. And so if you're thinking about it, each of these you could set up as a tile in a terrain system. So you could have a texture applied to each, or you could load in each at higher resolution or lower resolution, say, and then you transform this cube into a sphere. Yeah. It's my first drawing on a video. So that's the general idea that I'm doing, but in this video we're just going to use a sphere cube. There's reasons to use a cube too, and that kind of has to do with the way the vertices and the faces, when they deform, you'll get like a nicer circular shape, whereas when you do triangles you kind of get this, like these strips that look like this when they're not folded into the globe, but when they become the globe it goes back into a circle, if that makes sense. Oh god, I don't know if this is making sense. Anyway, I just realized I should scroll down. Basically, yeah, so you get better topology doing a sphere cube or a cube sphere than you would doing the traditional like icosphere, which just makes triangles out of everything, and then those kind of have to do this weird thing where they form these strips. I hope that makes sense. So this is how we want to do it. We don't have enough time to do that, but we're going to do a sphere cube, which will do good stuff. Anyways, like my drawing? What is it? It's like, hi. Okay, cool. Alright, and so you can pull from here, but we're just going to grab our nice little variable because I like being able to see what it says, that it's a dynamic mesh. We're going to append sphere cube, or sphere box, it's the same thing. Go like that. Let's just check and see if it's working. I gotta make sure I'm recording right now. Okay, we're good. If I drag this in here, all right, we have a sphere box. So I'm gonna show you, you can already see, but let's see, if I hit play, first of all, let's make it more obvious. If you, what I was trying to draw is, you see the topology, like these little squares and how they're like forming like that. If we hit play real quick, I said real quick, but it's going to load, take a while. If I hit F1, you can see the shapes, you know, it's like you can see the squares and how it makes that shape. I'll show you the difference with like a sphere real quick. Okay, so oh frick. So I dropped the sphere in it, it's the white one. That's the standard sphere, and if you hit F1 and you look at it, you can kind of see that stripping effect I was talking about, where they kind of get skinnier towards the top, and then you get this really crappy triangle situation at the poles, which is no good, and we want to avoid that. You can tell that like up top of this cube sphere it's much more uniform, and yeah, it's like a little stretch, but once you subdivide it, it ggets better. Like, and we can test that right now even if we want to. Go into our planet and say, what do we want to do? We want to make no, probably steps. Let's just change steps up to 8. See if that works. If it doesn't, we can just subdivide it, but let's test that real quick. Hit F1. Yeah, that's already smoother. So you can see the difference between the two types of spheres. We're using the one on the left. And you can achieve that same thing by doing the thing where I was talking about earlier, where you want to take every vertex in the cube shape and transform it via a multiplication transformation matrix, not a multiplication, but a transformation matrix. And I want to show you guys how to do that at some point, but it would take too much time in this tutorial and I'm already burning the clock. Okay, so we're going to switch these back to 6 in here. I was just kind of showing you a higher resolution. We can do apply mesh solidify. Split this struct pin for options so you can see what's going on here. And subserver search steps. This is probably good. Let's check it out, see what happens. Also, increase our radius. So we want to make this a planet, so let's make it bigger. Let's move it off the map so it's like not gonna impact the ground or whatever. There's our little guy. Into planet, change our radius to like 500 or 250. Let's try 250. I don't want to go too big for now. That's too small. We want it much bigger. 1000. How are we looking? Oh, shoot. That must have mesh solidify applied because it's got that weird solidified look. So maybe we should increase our substeps. I was thinking solidify would handle that for us. Bow, bow, bow. Yeah, let's just go 10, not 610, you'll crash your computer. Oh. 10, compile, take a gander at that, that's smoother. So you can already tell that like the higher resolution, the bigger planet is, the slower it's gonna be. But there's ways to get around that where you kind of use like LODs or world partition type techniques where you only put high definition shapes and polygons around the player or camera, which goes back to that whole cube made out of the square faces, and they kind of fold together and you can then subdivide each section much nicer. So that's the whole idea behind that. But again, we're not getting into that. We just want to make something simple, get your gears in your brain going, to get you some ideas. So we got our mesh solidify. Let's just apply a Perlin Noise for fun and profit. So selection, you can select which sections of the sphere you want to have noise applied to it. So if you only want to like apply noise to the top, you can also use those selection options if you only want to do higher definition or like subdivisions at a section, which would work for our optimization, but it's not, I say it's not the best way to do it, but it is a way to do it. So whatever works, works. And that's the most important thing, is to make it work. So where are we at? We select options base layer. There's like multiple options. There we go. So here's our options for our Perlin Noise. I wonder if it shows up already. Huh. Magnitude, maybe 50 since we're on a big sphere. That's ugly. Frequency, we either want that down or up. Let's try going down first. That didn't really, oh, I have to compile. Let's try that 0.1. Okay. Let's go 75. We don't want to do a frequency shift. Let's go take a look at it. So this is literally just applying noise to the whole thing. It's like just makes this rocky mess. That's not what we want for a planet, but maybe like an asteroid or a moon, you could work with that. Basically, you could layer noises and multiply them and subtract them and modify things. Ideally, what we really want is to be able to work with texture maps. And so that's our next step that I want to show you, is texture displace map, or whatever. Apply displace from texture map. So I have not been able to get this to work in mine, and if it did work, I would be set, because I already have everything kind of set up to handle it where I can slice everything. The only thing I'd run into is how to get the textures to be seamless along the seams of the cubes, and then there's ways to deal with that. But anyway, where are we at? We need a texture, so you need a grayscale texture, probably, like, I imagine there's probably smoke built in. Smoke tiled. Let's try that, see if that's going to do anything. So yeah, that's what I've noticed. If you split this, change our magnitude to 50 again. They say selection, but if selection's empty, then it should be the full mesh. And I have spent so much time trying to get this to work that it's like, I don't understand why this doesn't work. If you guys know why apply displace from texture map does not work on these dynamic mesh actors, please mention in the comments, because I need to figure out a way to get this to work. I tried so many things only to fail like 20 times, and that's kind of where I'm stuck with it. So in the meantime, we can just go with our noise I'm guessing, as far as you guys are concerned right now, you're thinking, oh, we want textures and whatnot, but I don't think that I'm going to put that in this tutorial. I'm keeping this short and sweet. It's kind of my first one back in a while, which is why I'm talking so much. But if this is your first geometry script video on my series, I got a bunch of them where you can, I forget what button shoots. One shoots, where you can destroy meshes using geometry script. You can tunnel. Actually, that's the wrong button. Right click, I believe, is tunneling. So we got a tunneling script. It's very basic, but the basics is just to get you guys started so you can, oh jeez, oh yeah. We also have this thing where it's like you bounce off walls and it kills you. Anyway, it's a series. I kind of want to do more on the procedural planet because I'm working on a project that uses this stuff. I just kind of hit a wall with it, and I'm hoping someone in the comments knows how to get that texture map to work. Okay, real quick, we also want to add a material if we can. So if we go in here and we want to create a material, type in material. So you notice that there's a lot of stuff about materials, and there's hints that there's IDs and triangles. So it seems like they're using a technique or methods where they're using IDs and material IDs, and you can almost like get information by the material IDs on these triangles and vertices. So that's another thing we could probably use in the future. Right now, I think, do we want to set material IDs, or do we just want to, hold on, is it setting material ID? We don't want to set the IDs, we want to configure a material set. Okay, right click into space, configure material set. There we go. Oh, that's we have to get the dynamic mesh component. So there's a difference between this dynamic mesh and this dynamic mesh component. The component has the mesh, so you can get dynamic mesh from that, if that makes sense. That's what we did here. Okay, so that's why if you can't find configure material set, pull it from your component. Otherwise, you can right click, uncheck context sensitive, and go configure material set, and then just figure out how to drag that out. Anyway, so this is for getting materials. We got our dynamic mesh component. We want to drag this out and check context sensitive, and we want to make array. And so this is where we're going to put our material. Let's say smoke. Don't like that. You know what that means? It means that smoke is a texture, not a material. So that means we need to create a material. So let's go. Right click in our folder, new material, call it M terrain basic, save, double click, and we got our thingy. We want a texture. You can hold T, left click, and you get your texture sample. There's a trick for you. Go down here and you're going to type in smoke. I kind of like the smoke tile D there. So here's another thing, terrain maps. Terrain maps are grayscale. So it's 0 to 1, black to white. Black being 0, white being 1. And you can think of it as a height map. From 0 being lowest to 1 being the highest. So now I'm going to once again open my thingy. Oops, sorry for blinding you. Let's scroll down. We'll call it terrain height map. 0 to 1. Why am I drawing this? It's like obvious. It's like here's 0, here's 1. So if you have mountains, it would be like 0, 0.2, 0.7, and 1. And so you have a black and white texture where, of course, I'm not going to be able to get shading in here. Like, ooh, here's like light. And then like here's like really white. This will be like a big mountain. Everything else is flat. Like maybe you have like a ridge line. you get the idea. And you apply that to a mesh, and it raises these vertices. And if these are the vertex points, and there's like a bunch of them, and they get raised up. So that's how we apply that to a mesh like this. You can tell that this is not too extreme with blacks and whatnot and whites. It's just, hey, look, it's like a little face. Anyway, so that's our terrain material. Let's go find it. M underscore, what did we call it? Terrain. Basic. Compile. Is this gonna work? Save that, make sure that's working. So we configure the material set. I feel like we need to apply it. No, it applied. Don't like that. So we're obviously not doing what do you call it? We're not doing the terrain displacement. We're just applying it to the shape. So that doesn't look tiled enough. So for UVs, you can type in texture coordinate. Let's get this big screen so you can see. And we're gonna tile this. So this is how you tile a material. I swear every tutorial is like a bunch of little tutorials inside, because I assume you guys don't know everything. Let's do 4 and 4. And so now you can see it's tiled a lot more. Alright, and like let's take a look. Did that apply? It does not look like it applied, does it? Why not? Why you no update? Save. Okay, now I'm like digging into this material problem because it needs to work for my project too. So my other theory was maybe the sphere does not have UVs, and it turns out I don't think it does. So I'm gonna just delete all this stuff, and hopefully none of it was important. Where we're at, I have enable material IDs, remap, and configure, but that's not really doing a whole lot, I don't think, other than applying our terrain from here, because I made it override this. Anyway, so if you go into modeling mode up here by selecting modeling, and then if you go down to UV and you say auto UV, and you click it, and you're like, oh, now it has UVs. They're terrible, but at least it has them, right? Last time I clicked that, it brought up a better menu, like where you could edit things, and what you want to do is like reduce the number of patches. Like it started with 100, just change it to like 2 or 4, and you'll get UVs. And if you don't know what UVs are, you should probably watch a video on it. It's basically how textures are applied, and they're very important. So anyway, just hit auto accept, and now boom, we've got a texture map on our dynamic mesh. The catch though is this only works in the editor, which I'm trying to avoid completely. A lot of the other guys' tutorials, they only work on generated dynamic mesh actors, which you have to use in the editor. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can figure out a way to make this auto UV work in runtime via blueprints, which I'm guessing someone's crazy enough at Epic Games to give us this auto UV option. This is a guess. There's always the crazy guys at Epic Games. There's always one, at least one, probably 4 guys and girls who are crazy enough to do that. So what do we got? We got our dynamic mesh component and our dynamic mesh, which we can grab. Let's just type in UV and see if there's anything like patch. That's what we just did in the editor. So I'm gonna, first of all, let's reset. So if you call it reset, hit compile. No, that's not what we want. We want our dynamic mesh component to reset. No, we want our dynamic mesh to reset. There we go. Okay. So if we call reset, it should clear everything in theory. Okay, that completely cleared everything. So then unplug this, recompile, and boom, we're back to our all black texture. That should have been the hint that there weren't any UVs. I was thinking it was a scaling issue or something, but then I was like, well, what if it doesn't have UVs? Bingo. Okay, so now we've got this thing here. Auto generate patch builder mesh UVs. I don't even want to plug it in yet, because let's open up options. Options initial patch count. Change that to 4. Dude, it's... Whoever put this in blueprints is awesome. It's probably Ryan Schmidt, because he's the geometry script guy, but it might have been someone on the modeling team at Epic. Dun dun dun. This is gonna help, I think. Did it work? Oh. I just solved a huge problem I was running into, and it's in this tutorial for you guys. Check that out. We now have this texture map applied, and with that we can do things. We can, let me guess, world position offset. Well, it probably won't work just by doing this, but let's see what happens. Hold up. I'm gonna pause it because I have something for this already. Progress. This is just color. We're just leaving it there for now. So what we want to do is we want float. You can just press 1 and left click and you get your little floaty guy. For multiply, you can hold in, press that, and it'll do that. Those are your little keyboard shortcuts for it to save you a bit of time. We want to take our texture sample, multiply it by this 50 value, which is our scale, and we're going to multiply along the vertex normal world space. So imagine you have a sphere or a mug, and each little square or triangle on this has a face, and the direction that face is pointing is that surface normal, if that makes sense. You can buy these. Anyway, go to world position offset. Yes. So now we're getting this spiky look, right? It's a mess, but it's what we're trying to achieve. Not a mess, but okay. And so now, I don't know if that's actually working. We want to get rid of our Perlin noise, because that's just kind of noisy right now. I just want to see if this terrain displacement will work on a mesh, because that will be a major breakthrough. Oh yeah, dude. It's obviously choppy because we're tiling, and you're going to see these seams where those UVs weren't lined up. So if your UVs aren't lined up, you'll see these seams. But if we did something where we get rid of our tiling there, apply that, save it, still have the seams from the UVs. So that is where, I don't know if there's a way, can we show UVs? I'm sure there's a way to show UVs. Visualizers. Huh, I'm sure there's a way somehow to just show UVs and not, I mean, maybe UV unwrap. Can we project? Ooh, UV project is a good thing. It's gonna, we have stretching in the center just like in real life in the simulation, but this is closer to what we want. There's probably some seam stuff. There's a lot of, I'm just now touching this modeling tool with the UVs, but we can do this at runtime, because someone, or maybe not runtime, but at least in construction, which is good enough. And so you saw that project thing, right? So I bet if we go here and we say dynamic mesh UV project, oh yeah, we got cylinder projection, box projection, and planar projection. Planar projection is probably good enough. I'm not going to mess with that right now. I think we're going to wrap this tutorial. So that is how you get a height map. Oh, the Death Star. That's freaky. Check that out. It's an eyeball. I see you. That's how you get a height map applied to a dynamic mesh actor at construction time, technically runtime. It's pretty cool because it opens up a lot of doors for what I'm trying to achieve, and a lot of people have been trying to achieve but have been held back by certain things, and we got it today. Hope that helped me. Yeah, let me know if you want more of these Procedural Planet videos. I'm going to be going further into it myself, so I think I'll probably make another one, at least one more. Yeah, peace.